It is time to leave your worries outside and laugh with us inside the treehouse. I'm Dan O'Malley, along with Trey Trenholm and Jerry Caldwell. Our buddy Raj is traveling. He'll be back in the treehouse hopefully tomorrow. But for today, it is Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. Welcome to Hump Day, boys. I've decided to start us off today with something that I didn't realize was real until recently. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but hot pocket assault is real. It's a sad day in this country when you have to realize certain truths. And the fact that hot pocket assault is real is truly troubling and falls into the terrifying theme of Halloween this week. Trey, you look so confused.
I mean,
also with your lips pursed like that, you look a little bit like my great grandmother Glick. Go ahead.
Are we literally talking about, the tasty pizza-like, snack that you microwave?
Yep.
Okay.
That is the one and only Hot Pocket.
I'm kind of not surprised that they weaponized it. That's like molten hot lava inside of that thing.
I want you to hold on to that thought, Jerry. Okay? Hold on to that thought. In Massachusetts, in New England, police are seeking a suspect accused of hot pocket assault. It occurred on October 19th. Authorities are seeking the public's help identifying a suspect wanted for throwing a hot pocket at a Dorchester, Massachusetts store clerk. Boston police say officers responding to an assault and battery call around 7:15 in the morning were told by the 911 caller that a suspect tried stabbing his employee. According to the police report, the suspect entered the store and grabbed a hot pocket from the fridge before asking the cashier for a tobacco product. When the cashier asked for an ID for the tobacco product, the suspect reportedly became irate and threw the hot pocket at the employee. Unbelievable. After the suspect threw the microwavable food, another customer intervened and a physical altercation ensued. During the fight, police say the suspect pulled a pocket knife on the customer. The customer was able to get the suspect out of the store and locked the door. If you'd like to help police in finding this suspect, this hot pocket assaulter, he's described as a 25-year-old, 5'1" black man wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and black sneakers, angrily pacing outside before fleeing down the street. So if you see a 5'1", 25-year-old black man wearing black head to toe and angrily pacing, this might be your suspect.
Was it a new Kevin Hart movie?
I'd watch a Kevin Hart movie titled Hot Pockets.
I mean, but it doesn't say, did he actually microwave the hot pocket first?
I don't believe he did. I believe he used the hot pocket as a bludgeoning instrument while keeping it cold. And Jerry, you brought up one of the most dangerous aspects of the hot pocket is when you microwave it and the insides are molten lava, kind of like the Totino's pizza roll on steroids, right?
Yes.
And since the suspect had a knife with just a little more planning, this could have been easily elevated from a misdemeanor to a felony. I'm going to tell you how. The suspect should have then gone to the microwave, set it on 7 minutes, and then remove with a mitt, remove the hot pocket from the microwave, set it on the counter, and then take his knife and stab it on the end, pointing towards the clerk. And then with a fist, you slam on the closed side of the hot pocket, thus dousing the clerk with molten hot pocket fluid. That's how you go from, misdemeanor hot pocket assault to felonious hot pocket assault. At least that's my thinking of it. I don't really know the actual law at all, so don't listen to me. By the way, this story about hot pocket assault really got me thinking. What gas station food would be the most embarrassing to tell people you were assaulted with? Because a cold hot pocket is one I'd be a little embarrassed about telling people. If it was a hot pocket, like you said, Jerry, that's one that could be truly dangerous. So not a whole lot of embarrassment there. But yeah, what are some gas station foods that you would be embarrassed to tell people you were assaulted with? Perhaps a can of Vienna sausages from the 80s. Maybe you get strangled with an air freshener tree. Or maybe you get a hot dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like just shove it in your ear. That's
He
embarrassing.
was beaten mercilessly with a wiener.
Mm-hmm. Hit in the crotch with beaver nuggets. Maybe you get whipped. Maybe you got whipped with a Slim Jim. Death by Funyun. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I'd really love to watch someone try to explain to the police that you were beaten with a whatchamacallit. I feel like that would be sort of like a who's on first type situation with the officers.
You're listening to The Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
If you are in the market for a new car, let me tell you the people you need to get a hold of. That is the people from Fair Lease. Go to their website right now, fairlease.org. Take a look at all their spectacular inventory. And, you can contact one of the excellent sales and leasing consultants right then and there when you find the vehicle that you want. And here's the other great thing. Even if they don't have the exact vehicle you want, still contact one of their very fine leasing consultants because they'll go find that vehicle for you and then they'll bring it to you. You're not going to have to waste a bunch of time at a dealership. Hours, days go by before you find the vehicle that you want, and they make you come to them. Not the case with Fair Lease. They do everything for you, the customer. And then when it's time to actually lease the vehicle, you can save a bunch of money because leasing costs less than buying. And also, they're going to bring everything to you, including the paperwork. So you're saving time and money. And I think it's time that you get your next new vehicle no hassle way from our friends at Fair Lease. Thanks to Fair Lease, the Treehouse is driven 5 days a week. So go contact them today. Take a look at the inventory, whether you want to lease a new car, lease a pre-owned, pre-leased car, whatever the situation, whether it's for economical purposes or because you need a new sports car for the ladies on the weekend. Fair Lease is the place to go. Go to fairlease.org. Once again, that is fairlease.org.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
That first segment of the Treehouse brought to you by Fair Lease. If you're ready for a new vehicle, then you're ready to call our friends or email at Fair Lease. Go to fairlease.org. Save time and money on your next new vehicle. Go to fairlease.org. That is fairlease.org. And do me a favor, do us all a favor. Make sure that you tell the guys at Fair Lease that you heard about them right here inside the Treehouse. That is, once again, fairlease.org. All right. Guys, did I ever tell you about the time that I almost got assaulted? Not by someone with a whatchamacallit, but the time I actually got assaulted by a whatchamacallit?
No.
All right, I'm going to take your quizzical head turns as a resounding no. So there I was, road trip in the 80s. And we were getting snacks for the road trip, right before you leave town. And the only thing I remember about this particular road trip was how I almost choked on a whatchamacallit rice thingy. Because those little Rice Krispie thingies that are inside some candy bars, like a Crunch Bar, or in this case, a whatchamacallit. Have you ever had one of those get stuck in your throat? I have. And
Oh, yes.
that was... It seems like an innocuous thing, and it seems silly to say that it sort of traumatized me, but I have not had a whatchamacallit since. I've been tempted but I'm a little nervous about it because I'm afraid of that little crunchy rice thingy getting stuck right here. I still remember the exact spot. Look, it was right here in my throat. I know the exact spot where that little rice thing got stuck in my throat and was scratching me for hours. That's what I remember about that effing road trip was the whatchamacallit that assaulted me. All right, that's all I got. Aren't you glad I told you about how whatchamacallit assaulted me? That's where I got the idea for that sort of the punchline, because I remember getting to my grandmother's house and be like, what did I say? I choked on a whatchamacallit. She's like, well, what was it? I said, a whatchamacallit. Well, you have to tell me. It was really bad. It was like it was like a generational gap doing, Abbott and Costello. It was very pathetic. Meanwhile, here inside the current version of the Treehouse, not the idiocy that is my childhood, are you for or against trunk or treat? I have my suspicions on where you, Trey, will lean and where you, Jerry, will fall on the controversy that is trunk or treat. I didn't realize that trunk or treats were controversial, but after reading this article, I can kind of see why some people find it so. It is Halloween time. If you're an American and if you have or know children, you probably know that this means it's the season for trunk or treat celebrations. If you're unaware of the concept, instead of going door to door for trick-or-treating, children and adults in costumes are brought to a parking lot at some large meeting place, maybe a mall, museum, or a government building. And there they receive their treats from stations set up in and around car trunks, frequently elaborately decorated. If you're under the age of, say, 35, the concept is probably nothing new. But if you're older, like all of us are, and especially if you don't have children, this might seem a little strange. It seems like every year on social media, more people post annoyed reflections about trunk or treat and get horrified by what has happened to trick or treating. Some people don't like the idea that trick or treating door to door is becoming old hat in favor of the trunk or treat. And if there's one thing that those of us that are a part of Gen X love to point out, that is the shortcomings of all the kids behind us, millennials, and especially the Gen Zers, who don't know the absolute thrill and the danger of going door to door to neighborhood you don't know, asking strangers for candy.
I mean, was trick-or-treating just too hard? I mean, they just had to walk too much? Well, I mean, if a house has the front light on, they're open to trick-or-treating. If they have it off, don't bother them.
That's right.
But I mean, I just, why? Like it's literally was trick-or-treating too hard? Were they burning too many calories walking? Like, so
I think all of those theories hold water. I remember last week we were talking about things that kids say to adults that make them feel old. One of the ones was a kid telling an adult they're old because when they were a kid, they actually played outside.
Wow.
That's alarming.
That hurts.
Yeah. Back to the article here. Trunk or treating is not something invented in the age of the Nextdoor app. It was already sufficiently widespread and venerable. In fact, the New York Times even ran a trend piece on it back in 2006. Trunk or treating, the Times wrote, solves the rural conundrum in which homes built a half-mile apart make the simple act of ringing doorbells require some physical fortitude. Neighbors or strangers, these community events substitute family-friendly entertainment for the unwanted risks of what lies behind each door. Well, they're basically saying it's the advantages of trunk or treating versus trick or treating.
Okay, I if you live in a rural community and you don't have any houses around you, and okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But in regular neighborhoods, it just seems lazy.
I think a lot of it has to do with people that are just overly paranoid. Like there are people that are so worried about the safety of their children that they don't let them go door to door looking for candy. Because I mean, look, even when I grew up in the 80s, when we did trick or treating, we lived in the country. So we hopped in the station wagon, drove to the good part of town to the good neighborhood in town. And that's where we did our trick or treating. Our parents were still there. It wasn't like they just sent us out into the great unknown and said, all right, good
Right.
luck finding candy.
Right. There was always an adult with, if it was just us and like a couple of blocks radius where everybody knew each other, then that was fine. We could go and do that. But if we ever like went out
growing
extended, there
up
was
for
always
us,
a grown up with us.
Yeah, growing up for us, adult supervision was being within shouting distance.
Right.
You didn't necessarily have to be within visual, sight. Just as long as you could scream and your parent would know it was your voice screaming, so they would come find you. That's really most of what it was, Plus it built character. If you fight off a couple of kidnappers, it's good for you. That's the problem with kids today. They're not strong enough to take on the kidnappers.
The sad truth is, chances are the kidnapper doesn't want your little a-hole kid.
I am so sorry. I pull up and then knock on the door and it's like, here, I am so sorry. Take this back.
I took the wrong one.
Ma'am, my apologies.
You need to discipline this kid. He doesn't take no for an answer.
Oh man, I am just suddenly very aware that people listen to this show. And I'm really worried about some fallout.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
If you thought 2024 couldn't get any scarier, you were wrong. Back for its 36th year, Hangman's House of Horrors is the best haunted house experience in DFW. Hangman's House of Horrors isn't just an award-winning haunted house. They have something for everyone, including an interactive art exhibit called The Beauty of Horror that would make even Vincent van Gogh cry and cut his other ear off. And you can test your zombie apocalypse skills in their Outbreak exhibit. Hangman's House of Horrors is located at 4400 Blue Mound Road in Fort Worth and is open every weekend through November 2nd. For more information and to buy tickets starting at just $39, visit hangmans.com. That's hangmans.com.
Do it. You're listening to The Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
The previous segment of The Treehouse is brought to you by The Treehouse. Go to patreon.com/treehouseonair. You can subscribe to even more Treehouse. So if you like getting Treehouse 5 days a week, which we hope you do, and you want more, there is more to be had. Bonus content, bonus episodes, all sorts of fun stuff inside of our Patreon channel. You got Treehouse Plus, Treehouse Super Plus, and Ultimate Treehouse, all available to you for a small monthly fee at patreon.com/treehouseonair. That is patreon.com/treehouseonair. All right, guys, I want to start this segment with a very, very interesting question. And that is this. Would you live in a murder house? You don't need to answer it right now, but I'm going to try to fill in some context here for you both, okay? According to a YouGov poll, it asked people, if you were looking to buy a house and found one that you could afford, it checked all of your boxes, would you still buy it if you learned that the previous homeowners had been murdered in it? So just a quick yes or no. Would you live in a murder house? Would you buy a murder house? Jerry?
Yes.
Not okay, you could have thought a little bit longer on that, but okay. Trey, would you buy or live in a murder house?
Yeah. Especially if it came, a discount.
Right.
Yeah, because Trey, you have you and I both have been licensed realtors in the state of Texas, and for some reason, this is one of those holes in my brain where I'm really good at retaining a bunch of information, but I never get to choose what it is. For whatever reason, one of the weird holes in my brain when it comes to my real estate knowledge is I can never remember for sure if a murder house has to be disclosed. I
Yes.
think it does, but that's why I want to ask you, because I know you'll know the answer to this. If a homicide happened inside the property, does it have to be disclosed?
Yes, it does.
Okay. It's suicide that does not.
Suicide, any other basic type of death, but yes, homicide has to be disclosed.
And just a quick, I know you didn't ask for it, listening to our idiocy every day, but I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit and let you know that as two realtors that have sold property in the state of Texas, always read the seller's disclosure. Anyway, let's pull the curtain back up now. Okay, so would you live in a murder house? Trey, you say, yeah. You hesitated a little bit. Makes me think, okay, well, you got, you're thinking about it some. Jerry had absolutely no hesitation whatsoever. He's an absolute yes. I'm going to give my answer to this question with my typical, well, it depends.
Yeah, I mean, that's
how bad of a murder are we talking?
Yeah, I mean, is it multiple? Did it cover the house? Is it I guess I'd want some details, but in general, I don't think that would bother me too much.
So this poll, like I said, was a YouGov poll, and they asked people, if you were looking to buy a house and found one you could afford that checked all your boxes, would you still buy it if you learned the previous homeowners had been murdered in it? 30% of people said yes, they would. 32% said absolutely not, while 38% said they're not sure. Interesting. Younger adults were more hesitant about living at the scene of a murder. Women were more wary about it than men. Okay, so now I'm not so surprised at our answers, considering how we're all heterosexual men and going like, well, I'd probably live there. It's no big deal. The poll also asked if sellers should be required to disclose recent deaths on the property. Again, there's laws in Texas about this already, but this is a national thing, and the same real estate laws don't apply in every state that they do in Texas. So they still ask people if sellers should be required to disclose recent deaths on the property. 35% of people said yes, 23% said yeah, but only deaths due to a murder, and 25% no, they don't want to know. And again, 17%, just not quite sure. I think the people that aren't sure whether or not they'd want to live in a murder house are probably thinking like I do. It just kind of depends on the style of murder we're talking. Is it like in the like one of those passionate murders, right, what they're called, but like, did the husband come home and catch his wife cheating and he killed a guy? I'm okay living in that murder house. If a little girl slowly walked up the sidewalk dragging an axe on the walkway and did a shining through the front door and chopped off the whole family and was never seen or heard from again, I'd probably be a little hesitant about buying and moving into that murder house. So again, I guess it just kind of depends on the murder that we're talking about.
Yeah, but the other interesting way to phrase that question is, what if you got 20% off the house?
That's a big discount.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big discount. And I think that's where, again, I think the murder weapon comes into play. Were they shot or were they, hacked to pieces with an axe? Because if they were shot, then 10% off. If it's hacked to pieces with an axe, I probably want to go 20% off.
I mean,
now that I think about it, that's kind of a bad pun.
You can look on the bright side. I mean, statistically, 2 murders happening in the same place, probably, very minute odds. Lowers your odds.
True. Unless the person that did the murder is still squatting in the house. And then really it just kind of depends on, whether or not, would you buy a murder house? Well, I'm going to answer your question with a question. Is it updated and can I Airbnb it?
You're listening to The Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
Did you know you can advertise right here inside the Treehouse, along with greats like Fairleys, Brooks Plumbing, Cook DFW, Roofing and Restoration? You too can advertise right here inside the Treehouse. Go to treehouseonair.com and fill out the contact form, or you can also just shoot us a quick email. For me, it's dan@danO'Malley.com, or you can shoot an email to the show in general. That is treehouseonair@gmail.com. So if you'd like to advertise inside the Treehouse, contact us, treehouseonair@gmail.com. Jerry, what was the question that you had?
Oh, you guys you were talking about in that last thing. If you find a house and it checks off all your boxes, but a murder occurred in it, would you buy it? Having a murder in the house is one of my check boxes.
So you tell your real estate agent you will only tour properties where a murder has occurred.
Yes.
You are a very specific type of client.
That's right.
I don't know. I don't remember that being a box to check in the MLS. Do you, Trey?
No, I don't think so.
It's under other, and you have to write it in. It's a niche.
Oh no, it really is. Although those houses do exist, are all over the place, and some are very well known, some not as well known. But I mean, look, if in most towns, most people know, especially whether it's in a large city or a small town, people know if a murder happened there for the most part. The last house we lived in Dallas, a house down the street was not a murder house, but it was a hoarder's house and was on the news a handful of years prior because the hoarder died inside the home. And I don't know how long the person was there before they were quote unquote discovered. And they had to basically bulldoze the entire house.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad of a scene that was. So that's not the house we moved into, obviously. It was a few doors down and across the street. But yeah, everyone on the street knew. It's like, oh, that's the hoarder's house. That's where they were found dead. Ugh. Like melted.
Which was a nice neighborhood, and it just goes to show you never know what's going on inside one of those houses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Look, there are murder houses in one of the wealthiest, one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in the entire country is in Highland Park, Texas, which is right in the middle of Dallas. I still remember there was a husband that was accused of I don't know if it was his whole family or just his wife, but there's at least one murder house in Highland Park. There's probably a bunch more, but those probably got swept under the rug because they're rich.
I got arrested there and sat next to Jerry Jones in the holding cell.
How is this the first time I've ever heard you say that?
I don't know.
Two Jerry's, one cell?
Right. He wasn't in there for long after I got there, but he'd been sitting there for a fair piece. It was that time. It was all over the news where he was in Highland Park and he got picked up. So that was big news.
He lives there.
Well, you're saying he got picked up. What was he suspected of? Because I don't think he was just wandering around.
I don't remember. He didn't really want to talk.
I would imagine.
He was not in a mood to conversate.
I'm sorry, I got to Google this really quickly. I had other things planned for this segment, but when you say you shared a jail cell in Highland Park with Jerry Jones, I need to verify it.
I think.
When was this, Jerry?
It was back in the 90s, I believe.
Oh, wait, here we go. Hang on. This from the Chicago Tribune. No, I don't want you to send me notifications. Please don't make me subscribe. August 10th, 2021. Well, that says updated August 10th, 2021. But I think the original byline I clicked on was, hang on.
I think it was back in 99.
Yeah, it was 99. Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was arrested Sunday in Highland Park, Texas, after he allegedly drove away with his family before a police officer had finished writing a speeding ticket. Oh, this does sound a little familiar. Jones said late on Sunday, the arrest was a misunderstanding. He said he and his family were trying to get to church in time for the christening of his grandson. Jones was in one vehicle and his family was in a Suburban around 10:30 a.m. on their way to church services. Jones's employees drove both vehicles. Highland Park Police Chief Daryl Fant said an officer pulled over the Suburban for going 45 into 30. Oh, yeah. The car carrying Jones was not stopped, but his driver was also pulled over. Jones went to where an officer was questioning the driver of the other car in which several of the family members were riding. About a mile away, Jones let his family out at the church, then drove off again. Around the corner, he pulled into a private drive where police arrested him. He was charged with fleeing the scene, a misdemeanor punishable by up to $2,000 fine and 6 months in jail, by which, of course, he obviously got out.
25 years, and you this is the first you're telling us about this.
I don't know how I haven't told you this before.
What else are you hiding? Did you have a moment together in the cell? Did he make you sign a non-disclosure agreement that you had to wait 25 years for it to expire?
No. It was all very brief. It was.
Do I need to show you? Do I need to grab one of Jeff Dunham's puppets and hand it to you, and then you can point to the puppet where Jerry Jones touched you, or I guess where you would have touched Jerry Jones?
No, there was no time. It was I was in, he was out.
Isn't that the case for everybody in jail? Yeah. Well, congratulations, Jerry. You're another notch on Jerry's cell post.
Yeah.
I got pulled over because my okay, so I got pulled
You don't
over.
have to tell us this. I just want you to know that. You don't have to tell us why you were in jail. I didn't care why you were in jail at all. And I not once thought, I'm going to ask Jerry why he was in jail. All I cared about was the fact that you shared a jail cell in Highland Park with Jerry Jones, and you waited 25 years to tell us this.
But
since you brought it up, what did you do?
They took me in because I didn't have my driver's license on me.
Man, Highland Park just does not around.
No. I was a little bit lost because I was doing computer work at the time, and I was headed towards a lawyer's office, and I got pulled over, and he asked me for everything else. It was one of the few times in my life when everything else was, the way it was supposed to be, because it wasn't too long before that I had gotten pulled over with 22 moving violations that had all gone warrant.
Holy Jesus.
Yeah, I didn't believe in inspection stickers or insurance or any of that for a long time.
Clearly, you've come around.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I had just gotten out of the gym, and I had completely forgotten to take out my driver's license, my card, and all that, and put it in my gym attire.
All right, let me get this straight. You're telling me that you had just left the gym in your gym clothes and you forgot your driver's license. You also had 22 warrants for your arrest, and you just happened to end up in one of the best jail cells in the country in Highland Park, and you just happened to run into Jerry Jones.
Well, the 22 warrants was years before that.
I'm just saying that anyone that's greased up from the gym that ends up in jail sounds like a plan.
It was not the plan. I was going to hook up a printer on a network at a lawyer's office.
So when you were in jail next to Jerry Jones in 1999 in Highland Park, what did you talk about?
There wasn't really time to talk to him.
You just spit on it and let it go.
Don't answer that. I'm not your attorney, but you clearly do not have to answer that interrogating question.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
I'm still reeling over the fact that you shared a jail cell with Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, all the way back in 1999, and you waited until October 30th, 2024 to tell us about it. My God, Jerry Caldwell, what's wrong with you?
I
feel like that's
surprised.
how
I'm
you should
surprised
lead.
too.
I feel like that's how you should lead certain conversations. Like, hi, I'm Jerry Caldwell. I was once in a jail cell with another famous Jerry Jones.
Now, I will say this. I totally understand why you never said that when you were working for Russ, because he would have let that thing go.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That was actually probably a smart thing to keep under your hat, which ironically, you're wearing a Russ Martin Show hat right now. But yeah, had you told Russ that, he never would have thought anything else. He only would have asked you about that. Like it all would have been sexual innuendo and who was on top, who was on bottom, and who ate what, swallowed what. Oh, speaking of eat, what did they? Were you in there long enough to be fed by Highland Park police?
Oh yeah. I sat there for a little while, and then eventually one of the officers came in. He's like, "We're going to Wendy's for lunch. What do you want?"
Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, brought me a bacon double cheeseburger and a Sprite.
Usually it was McDonald's or Bubba's. So
yeah, I'm not sure. I believe, was it the Tarrant County Jail where they had the McDonald's with the working ice cream machine? Or am I just completely misremembering that? Because of all the jails that you think would have a working one, you would think it'd be Highland Park. Got to pay extra for those.
Right.
Actually, I would actually assume the jail for Highland Park probably has a marble slab in it. For the ice cream, not just for the finishes.
Right.
And instead of Wendy's, you get brought Javier's. Sounds pretty good to me. Yeah. All right. Oh, I'm playing the wrong sound effect. We got so sidetracked by Jerry Jones jail story. That's a lot of J's, by the way, that we didn't have time to play spooky verses. So let's do that now. Leading up to Halloween, it is time for Treehouse versus the Spooky Edition. Inside a darkly lit stairwell, I'm going to make you choose your path to freedom. You have the option to go upstairs to escape or downstairs to escape. Escape is not guaranteed, but you can try. But there is a spectacular, spooky foe in your way. On today's version of Treehouse versus the Spooky Edition, Jerry Caldwell and Trey Trenholm, you are pitted against two titans of horror. Two of the craziest women in film history. You may go downstairs to attempt an escape where your foe is Pamela Voorhees, mother of Jason Voorhees, and the actual killer in the original Friday the 13th. A lot of people forget that because they've only seen the subsequent films and think, it's all Jason Voorhees. No. The very first villain in Friday the 13th movies was Mama Voorhees. She was mad because all those camp kids ignored her disfigured son and he drowned. And then she went around the camp and murdered a bunch of people, including Kevin Bacon. So put that in your Friday the 13th unnecessary knowledge hat. So you want to make an escape. You're in a darkly lit stairwell. You're on the middle landing. You can make an escape attempt downstairs through an axe-wielding Pamela Voorhees, or upstairs against one of Stephen King's most suspenseful characters, Annie Wilkes from Misery. The sledgehammer-wielding Annie Wilkes, famously portrayed by Kathy Bates. So inside Treehouse versus the Spooky Edition, which path to freedom are you going to attempt? Upstairs against Annie Wilkes from Misery, or downstairs against Pamela Voorhees from Friday the 13th? Jerry, we'll start with you. Which way are you going to go?
I think this time I am going to roll the dice with Annie Wilkes.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, Mama Voorhees is a very prolific killer. She's really good with that axe. Annie Wilkes had to chain that guy to the bed before she could hit him with that sledgehammer. So I think my chances are probably a lot better with her.
Okay, interesting. Now, Trey, are you going upstairs against Annie Wilkes from Misery, or are you going to attempt an escape downstairs against Pamela Voorhees from Friday the 13th?
Death at the hands of an angry, crazy woman. It just got real.
This could be your future, Trey, so choose wisely.
Yes.
Honestly, of all the pairings that we've had leading up to Halloween, this is the one where I feel like you might have some actual experience.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna go. I will take Mama Voorhees.
Ooh, and why?
And for the simple reason that if she gets me, it's going to be a quick death. Annie Wilkes, you get chained to a bed, you might get hobbled. There could be a lot of torture that goes on there. And if I'm going to go out, I want it to be quick.
No, I think that's an excellent assessment. When it comes to true fear, I would not do well under torture, and that's what Annie Wilkes is all about. Pamela Voorhees is all about, I'm mad at you and I'm just going to murder you, which I can respect. The Annie Wilkes angle from Misery is, you're right, Trey. She's going to do everything she can to torture you and keep you in that bed because you are hers now. And I have to admit, full disclosure, I've never seen all of Misery. I have seen the ankle smashing scene. And not only does that make me nervous around sledgehammers in general, and I'm being serious, it also has me nervous about Kathy Bates in general, just as a person. I realize she's an excellent actress and she in no way embodies anything resembling Annie Wilkes, the terrifying character from Misery. But I have to admit that even seeing the new promos for Matlock starring Kathy Bates, I'm a little anxious about it. Every role she's ever been in, I always think of her in Misery. That's how good she was in it, and absolutely terrifying. So I think if I had to choose, I would choose to go mano a mano with Pamela Voorhees. I'd also like to point out that if you're looking for a really easy Halloween costume, go as one of these two.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can find both of those outfits at a Goodwill right now.
Goodwill and Home Depot.
Yep.
That truly is the recipe for every great Halloween costume.
You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com. You're in the Treehouse. Visit us online at treehouseonair.com.
For all things Treehouse, go to treehouseonair.com, and you can also check us out on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/@treehouseonair, or just search for us right there on YouTube. It is the Treehouse Podcast. Check out Treehouse Cowboys, our Cowboy show that we do after each and every Cowboys game, which are typically losses. And also check out Treehouse TV. Lots of fun to be had on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@treehouseonair, or just type it into the YouTube search, the Treehouse Podcast. All right, finally inside the Treehouse today. Move over, people of Walmart. It's time for Walmart worker season. You've been warned. A Walmart store in Ohio is pressing charges against a former employee who was caught peeing on a pallet outside the store. The pallet was filled with bags of potting mix. There's a surveillance footage of the suspect consuming alcohol on the premises and then peeing on the potting mix. He ruined 72 bags of potting mix valued at over $400. They had to throw all of them away, although it seems weird to think that all he did was pee on a mix of dirt and manure, but that's what they had to do. And so Walmart fired him. It's unclear if the suspect was only drunk or if the suspect intentionally did it to get back at the store and was drinking. It might be the latter, because it does sound like the suspect had been recently fired by Walmart and didn't have a job at the time. The name of the person was not released, but I think we all can safely assume it was a dude. So there you have it. While I know People of Walmart has been an interesting social media account for years, I think it's time now we start focusing on the workers of Walmart because, man, are they entertaining too.
But of all the things he could have peed on, really?
Well, I mean, he was inebriated enough. Maybe he thought it said potty soil.
It's a good point. It could have been he just couldn't read. He was so drunk he couldn't read. So maybe that was a department he worked in, and that was what he hated doing the most at Walmart was maybe moving the potting soil bags. I never worked at Walmart, so I don't know. But when I go to the Walmarts, I don't ever. Oh my God, I just turned into an old man. I just called it the Walmarts. When I go to a Walmart store, I can't really think of any section that I hate that I'd want to pee on, other than maybe the clearance section.
I mean, if it had one of those little smiley faces on it, then I get it.
Yeah, because then it looks like it wants it.
Yeah.
Not only are prices falling, but so is my zipper.
So is water.
I just feel bad for the person because they said that he ruined 72 bags of potting soil mix by peeing on it. Who's the employee that has to count that? Or is that a job of a police? Of like, they said specifically 72 bags of potting soil they had to throw out because this guy pissed all over it. Whose job is it to count that?
Right. This is evidence. New guy. Go over there and count that.
I think you're about to have another incident to have in the news. And you know what? If all they did was pee on the smiling face, consider yourself lucky. For all things Treehouse, go to treehouseonair.com. You can also find and follow us on social media. For the show, it's at Treehouse On Air. For me, it's at the Dan O'Malley. For Trey, it's at Trey Trenholm1. And for Jerry, it's at that Jerry Guy. We will see you back here tomorrow inside the Treehouse.